If you've got your mind on your money and your money on your mind, today's episode is for you. Hey everyone, it's Leighton Hart, and you're listening to Podcasting for Fun and Profit, where we chat about growing your podcast, making money from your podcast, and best of all, having fun in the process. It's been a while since I posted an episode here. That's with good reason, friends. A couple months ago, my wife and I were in a pretty bad car accident, and I needed a little time to heal up. I had some cuts and bruises, some trauma to my eye that was kind of gross. But after taking some time off to reflect and focus on what I want to do, friends, let me tell you, I'm here to tell you, I am more excited about podcasting today than I have ever been. I'm doubling down on my commitment to help you grow your podcast and start earning money from your podcast. I love it. It's fun. All right. Later in the episode, I'm going to share one simple thing you can do today to help your podcast grow. In fact, I can't believe how easy it was and that I hadn't done it sooner. But let's get into today's topic, which is the state of podcast monetization as we really start churning in the year 2022. Here's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about what advertisers are paying in 2022 for ads on podcasts like yours. We're going to talk about the different variables that will drive what you can charge for ads. We're going to look at which ad formats and placements bring the most money for hardworking podcast hosts like you. And we'll do a little exercise together to see what you can reasonably expect to earn from your podcast as you tiptoe into monetization. Okay, let's start by let's just get refreshed on how podcast advertising works in the first place. So the main way that podcasters like you and me make money is through host-read ads that happen at the beginning, middle, and end of your episode. The ad at the beginning is called a pre-roll ad because it plays before you roll out your content. The ad in the middle is called, yeah, you guessed it, that's right, mid-roll. And an ad at the end of your episode is called post-roll. Pre, mid, and post. Each of these positions is worth different amounts because it's kind of assumed your listener is behaving differently during each portion of your episode. So for a pre-roll ad, best practice is to limit that ad to about 15 to 25 seconds. This will give you time to introduce your sponsor, sell the benefits of the product or service, but without taking so much time that the listener clicks away. Those first few seconds of an episode, whether it's a podcast episode, a YouTube video, anything like that, those first few seconds are so critical. So during the first minute or so of your show, the listener is still making up their mind about whether they want to stay put or if they want to move on to something else. So use that time wisely. Mid-roll ads, these are higher value real estate in podcasts because it's generally believed that the listener is more committed at this point. They're hooked, they're in, and they want to see this thing through to the end. So by the middle of your episode, you are well into telling the story of the day, or you're getting into the meaty parts of your guest interview, or like if you have a true crime podcast or something like that, people are hanging on to see how this thing is going to play out. And so people are sticking around for and are willing to listen through an ad in the middle of your episode. And because of that, this is where you can go a little bit longer with the ad. You typically hear mid-roll ads in the 30 to 60 second range. That's pretty standard in podcasting. 30 to 60 seconds usually isn't going to offend any listeners. And if you have a big audience or your episode structure is such that listeners stay till the very, very end, again, you're telling a story and they want to hear the end, or there's this true crime thing where you're revealing details as you go, cliffhangers and things like that, you maybe even be able to get two back-to-back 60 seconds ads in your mid-roll. And of course, mid-roll ads are ads that run not mid-roll. Post-roll ads are the ones that run at the end of your episode. So since listeners are usually ready to move on by the time your episode is wrapping, end-roll ads tend to fetch lower dollar amounts. Okay, now that we're all on the same page about what the different ad placements in a show are, let's talk about how much you can reasonably expect to earn for each type of ad. One thing that's important to know as we talk about this is that ad rates vary wildly based on a lot of different types of factors. But here's what you can expect as a general rule. Oh, almost forgot. To make sure you know to make sure you know how podcast ad prices are talked about. So if you're new to podcast advertising, a phrase that you need to know is CPM. CPM means cost per milli, which is a weird way of saying cost per 1,000 listens. So if you have 1,000 listeners and a brand is willing to pay you a $25 CPM, that means you'll earn $25 for each ad you run for them. If you have 100,000 listens per episode, you'll be earning $2,500 for each ad you run for them. See, that's where we want to be, right? So what are the typical CPMs that you and I can expect to earn? Well, according to an article from Podchaser, they keep a pretty good eye on this stuff. The average CPM for a pre-roll ad at the beginning of a show is $15. So $15 per 1,000 listens. For a mid-roll ad, you're looking at an average CPM of $30, and then for an end roll, you're looking at an average of $10 again. And remember, these are averages. If you Google podcast CPMs, you're going to see that CPMs range anywhere from $10 to $50 is kind of the range you hear talked about. And like everything else, no matter what CPM you're able to land to get started, it's likely someone else is earning less, and it's likely someone else is earning more. So my note to you here would be, if you're not happy with the CPMs you're earning when you just get started, I would say don't beat yourself up. Remember that as your audience grows and as you level up your skills as a podcaster, your earning opportunities are going to grow as well. Now, we could probably do another entire episode, or more than one episode, honestly, on what factors play into how much you're able to charge for the ads on your podcast. But for today, let's just hit these highlights, and then we can unpack these individually in future episodes. So generally speaking, the CPM that you're able to command is going to vary based on these factors right here. Number one, the popularity of your show. Number two, the length of the ad itself. Number three, whether the ad is host-read or a produced ad. Number four, whether the ad is embedded in the show or whether it's dynamically inserted. Number five, how many spots the brand is purchasing. And then number six, the reach of your personal brand or the brand of the show beyond the podcast itself. So there you go. Those are the factors that play into the CPM that you're going to be able to command. Now, I mentioned at the top of the show that I'd tell you about a simple thing that you can do today to dress up your show for future advertisers. This is what I would do in prep to get monetized. I just did this myself, and I'm honestly kicking myself for not doing it earlier and for not doing this for my clients when I was producing podcasts. But hey, the best thing we can do is just move forward, making the decisions that we think are good, right? The thing I want you to do is go set up a free landing page for your podcast. You won't believe how easy it is to do through Podpage. In fact, all you really need to do is create a login and a password, and then there's a search bar where you can just type in the name of your podcast. Just look up your podcast, select your podcast from the search results, and then Podpage will pull in all your info. It'll make you this beautiful landing page, and then you can even choose from dozens of templates and color palettes to customize your pod page to your own unique style. So once you've done that, then this landing page you get is pretty amazing. It has all your episodes right there, so you can listen directly from the pod page. It has your show description, it has reviews and ratings of your show, has links to where people can listen, like the different players, the different people that syndicate your show, like Spotify and Apple and Stitcher and those types of places. And it has a box to collect email addresses from people who want to get ongoing updates from you. So that's cool. So you can gather email addresses as your show grows. That's very helpful. This is cool too. You can also use that pod page as your point of contact for potential guests. So it has a place where they can enter their information, they can sign a guest release, they can schedule their recording session with you. You just drop your Calendly link in there, and then the guest can just go choose the time of their choosing right there from your pod page. Like I said, I'm embarrassed that I'm just now stumbling into this, but my advice to you would be go set up your pod page today. Like I said, it's completely free, and if you decide you want to unlock some more advanced features, there's all kinds of stuff that you can unlock with paid plans. They do have paid plans. I'd love for you to use my link to create your pod page, so make sure you hit my pod page link in the description for this podcast where you're listening or where you're watching. Okay, that's it for today. If you need help growing your audience or getting monetized, I'd love to see how we can help. Drop me a comment and let me know what's the biggest roadblock for you in terms of growing your audience or getting monetized right now. That's it for today. We'll talk to you again soon.